Hi, so welcome to the Lambeth Made podcast. I'm your host, Rebecca.
Hi, I'm Sasha.
And today we have a special guest with us. Today we have, if you'd like to introduce yourself, please.
Thanks, Rebecca and Sasha. Nice to meet you both. I am Joseph Lynch. I'm the Artistic Director of Babel Theatre, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with you today.
Yeah, thank you for coming onto the show. We're very excited to have you here as well. And we just want to hear a little bit more about what you do. So as this is called the Lambeth Made podcast, we are very interested in hearing about people that have grown up in the area. So like, how has it been like growing up in Lambeth and the impact you will say it's had?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I grew up all over South London. I spent a lot of time in Lambeth, in Streatham, and then also in Southwark and in Bermondsey and lots of different places. For me, like Lambeth has always felt like my home. So it's nice to be here talking about it, especially at the moment where I feel like, I don't know, over the last few years, home has started to feel really important to me. When we spent a minute, everyone being in our houses and in our homes. So I think there was something about rediscovering what home is and where home is. The work that we do is very based in Lambeth. Babel Theatre are an nationally touring theatre organisation, and we make professional productions and tour them around the UK. And since the pandemic, actually, we've really sort of hyper-localised our work to be very specifically much more in our home borough and particularly in Brixton, and working with young people and people of all ages to keep their creativity alive and engaged and find ways to explore the kind of modern experience of living.
So with Babel Theatre, so it's located in Brixton at the moment. So what kind of shows do you do? If people do want to find out more about the theatre, what can they expect to see? What kind of shows do you put on?
Yeah, so we make physical theatre. It's very vibrant and powerful. It's got a lot of movement. It feels quite often like a dream. That feeling you kind of wake up and you're like, I was running on a rooftop and I felt like it was love, but then there was a demon. It's very sort of strange and surreal, but powerful and evocative. There's lots of emotions and lots of colour and lots of different experiences on the stage. We work with dancers and work with actors. We work with musicians and poets and spoken word artists and lots of different things. Currently, we're making a show called It Starts With Us that follows a young black woman and looks at a point in her life where she's being pulled in different directions by different people in her life. So her boyfriend wants her to get married and have a baby, and her boss wants her to excel more at work, and her mother is becoming sick, and so she has to become the carer of her mother, almost become the parent of her own mother. And she's got all of these different responsibilities, and it's her navigating the experience of that. And then also just looking at how we look at cycles of behaviour and what did her mother do in her life, and what did she do, what does she not want to do in her life, and how do you sort of step out of patterns of behaviour.
Yeah, that's so interesting, because I feel like even just being a woman, a modern day woman in this world, our roles have changed from how it was in the past. And as you said, things are passed down through generations, and what's expected of you. But now it's you're expected to be a homemaker, you're expected to go to work, expected to raise kids, all these demands. How can one person, I feel like you were just going to say, how can you do it all?
Yeah, and I think that's a very contemporary experience, right? It's this feeling of trying to do everything. And so, that's really the theme, is what is passed down from parents to children, and then how do we, what's the experience of trying to change that?
Yeah. I would just say with you now being artistic director of your own theatre, how did you even get to that stage? That's a big title to hold.
Yeah, it's funny. It's not really ever something I thought, when I was a kid, that's not really something I thought was going to be my reality. I remember being like around 15, and there was that day in secondary school. I don't know if it still happens, but there's this day in secondary school where they ask you to pick what you're going to do for the rest of your life, because what you do for your GCSEs and at college, like, that's it. That's who you're going to be.
Yeah.
And I just remember coming out of the school gates and being like, man, I don't know anyone that is happy in their job. I didn't know that. That wasn't my thing. My parents didn't have good jobs. Like, my sister didn't have like a job that she was like passionate about.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, cool. At some point I will do something. I'll probably like be very good at sitting at a desk and, I don't know, writing or something like that. But for a minute, I just want to see how long I can get away with not doing that.
Yeah.
And I was really lucky that there was a college really near me that had a good theatre course and like arts course. It had a music department, and I applied and I got in there, and that was my first time doing anything like that as well. And when I started, I was just like, this is great, you know. And they treated it very much like professional. It was really professional. And so we worked hard all day, every day for like 2 years. And then that sort of launched a pathway into the arts. They helped me go to drama school. When I left drama school, I ended up making my own work. And we started making a show about this thing that happens when you get into a relationship with someone, where where you sort of sacrifice certain parts of yourself to be who you think they want you to be.
It's not about you no more.
Yeah, you're like, or who you want to be around them.
Yeah.
You know. So what happens is these two, they do the same thing, and these two people become halves and come together and make like a whole, right? And you start liking the same things, you start talking the same, you start dressing each other real cute, you know. And it gets a bit monstrous in a weird way. And then so if that's true, when that's over, when that breaks, there is this experience of being like half a person, and you have to find out who you are again.
Yeah.
And when we started making this, we thought we were pioneering social philosophers, but it's basically a text called Plato's Symposium, which is like the oldest white Western text on love. And then since then, we've just been growing a little bit and touring around the country. And we've, some people have said some really nice things about our work. We've won some awards and been programmed at some of the, really like lovely theatres and worked with some amazing people. And then over the last few years, I've really been thinking about that 15-year-old who didn't know anyone that was happy in their job. And actually, my life is I get to have really interesting conversations with people like you every day, and like sit down and do things that I'm passionate about. Yeah. And I believe really passionately that today we live in a world where you can really create your own reality. Yeah. I think you can really like forge a path for yourself, and it's not to ignore like the different obstacles and the different things that different people of different like positionalities face, but I think we have a lot of choice and a lot of agency and a lot of power to kind of go, hey, this is what I want. How can I do that?
I totally agree with that. Like, I'm a big believer in manifestations and to an extent, like the laws of attraction. I don't know too much about it, but I'm trying to learn more. And like, as you said, obviously, we don't all have the same start in life. Like, some people are further ahead because of, the family they're born in, the environment they're born in, and stuff like that. It does have an effect on us. Yeah. But I like the fact that we also have power to like change our position, because I feel like if we didn't, it would just be like helpless. There would be like no hope in this world to be like, what can I do? And seeing people that have come from a similar background to you, for example, and seeing them achieve great things can also give you that belief that if they can do it, then I can do it. That's why like representation is like important. But then I just want to go back to like drama school, because you said, you're one of the few people with a working class background. So like, how did you like overcome that obstacle? Because you're in like this acting world as well. Like, how was that experience for you as well?
Well, I didn't go to drama school, so my experience is a bit different compared to say your experience. So I trained with a few different theatre companies over the years. So like with one of them being London Babel Theatre, and it was a very different experience because like it was very community based. So when we were working and training on like different projects, like in terms of like whether it was like forum theatre or trying out Shakespeare, or it felt more like we were like a family. And so I feel like that kind of differed a bit. I mean, I don't know. So like, how was your experience in drama school? Like, what were the key points, and what were things that you remember from your experience in drama school?
Yeah, I mean, drama school was a really interesting time, and I think it's true for everyone. You know, like that period, whether it's university or it's like your first job, or it's like that period of being maybe like 18 to like 24, like around there, you really start to discover like who you are and what your thoughts are on the world, because you enter a different mode where you're not a child anymore, but also you're not quite out there, like, you know, it's like a transition period. I think for some people, at least, not everyone. Some people have very different experiences, but for me, drama school was wild, man.
Really?
It was hard. I went to a school that like they really drilled us hard, and we had to work a lot, and we had to work all day, and then we had to work in the evening, and then we had like to prepare stuff at the weekend to like show the next week, and that really gave me a rigor and a discipline that I hadn't really had before, you know. So that was amazing. It really gave me, I don't want to say professionalism, because I think hard work is super, super important, but I also think rest and recovery and balance is really, really important. And I think we've discovered that like in the world as well a bit, about, you know, being on all of the time is not necessarily productive, you know.
No, burnout is real.
Yeah, yeah. But back to your question, I think the thing about where I come from, you know, I'd never really been to a theatre properly before. I didn't know anyone that worked in theatre or worked in the creative industries. I didn't know when I was a kid that, you know, people had guitar lessons or like things like that. I didn't know that was stuff you did. That wasn't part of the culture of my growing up. And then I went to a point in my life where I met other people who had really different experiences to me. And I didn't at the time know how to deal with them. I didn't know, you know, a lot of my friends, you know, like their parents were still together and really happy marriages, and they had a bedroom in their house and things like that. They didn't share it with anyone. And I think like whatever that point is in your life, you just start to meet people that have different experiences to you, and then you start to figure out who you are and like what your relationship to your past is as well.
Yeah.
Speaking on today though, people that work in the arts, there's a report that came out recently that 8% of the people that work in the creative industries identify as working class. 8%.
It's still very much like people from middle class or upper class that
and I think,
dominate the arts.
I think that just identifies, you know, it's hard to sustain because people aren't always necessarily getting paid right. A lot of people have the option, and you know, I don't hate on this at all. I think it's great that they have that, to like stay at home with their parents for quite a long time. They don't have to like worry about rent or you know, these kinds of things that can really like throw up huge barriers for people. Because at the end of the day, you've got to have somewhere to live, and you've got to be able to eat, and you've got to be able to do these things. So for me, like, that's always been a reality. You know, when I started out, I had to work 2 or 3 bar jobs at the same time as like trying to run a company. It's only been in the last few years that I've been full-time in my own company. And I'm still a freelancer in my company. I'm not on a salary. and we work, nationally and internationally. It's taken a while to get there.
Yeah. There's been a lot of talk, I would say, about Nepo babies, especially when the award season was kicking off. And then did you see how some people were like defensive and other people were just owning it? And I feel like there's nothing wrong if you have been given like privileges, but like just acknowledging it, because like you said with that report, if it's just like 8% working class, then it's like we live in a world that there's people from all different backgrounds. It should be represented, whereas what we're seeing is literally coming from like a niche number of, or should I say like category of people and like their experiences on life, whereas, do you know what I mean? Like it's so diverse, like the world. So it's like it should be more reflected in the arts, and even things like internships. If you do come from a well-income background, then you're more likely to do it. Whereas again, things like that closes the door on people that don't come from privileged backgrounds. So it's like needs to be more accessible for like everyone that are interested in going on down this route to have the opportunity to do that.
And I think like that's also why I run my own company, is because I was never interested in it in auditioning for other people. I didn't that's just not a world that I wanted to be a part of, where you have to be really resilient and know that you're going to get rejected a lot, when you audition. And for me, that was when I was young. I was just like, no, I can't handle that. I'm just going to go my own way.
Yeah.
And I think different people face so many different obstacles. As a white cis man, being working class is a huge part of my identity. But there's a lot of other privileges that I have that other people don't have as well. And so there's an intersectionality of those things that can make it really even harder for a lot of people.
I'm glad you said that, because again, I sometimes feel like if you come from like a marginalized group or someone that's a bit more oppressed, but you still have sometimes some more privileges than other people, and some people fail to realize that. For example, if you're from more like one of the ethnic minority groups, but you're still a cis man, for example. So there's still certain privileges that you have, and some people just fail to recognize that. Even just the fact that the country you're born in or the country you're raised in, there's certain things, or the passport you have that you have an advantage. Yeah, things like that. And some people don't see that. So I'm glad that you mentioned that as well, because it's very much real.
Yeah. And I for me, I think we need to just get better at talking about that. I think there's a lot of people are quite uncomfortable, and privilege is not a bad thing. You've got a certain amount of privilege in your life. That's good. We want that for people. But it's just when there's that disparity, how do we create strive for equity, when there's huge disparity. And that's a big part of what we do. So we really try and be very specific when we're working with people about who do we have in the room, who are we hiring, what kind of programs are we setting up, and we try and be very targeted with that as well, so that we're not sort of homogenizing or generalizing with things.
Yeah, definitely, because you could be privileged in a sense where you could have a really good network of people around you, like everyone in the industry sort of talks about having connections and contacts. So that in itself, if you've got that is a privilege. And I think people just have to recognize that privilege can come from anything.
And it's something that when I'm working with younger people now, identifying your peer group is a really powerful thing. Who are the people that are around you right now, and how do they align with your values, and what's missing from your peer group, And I think that's when I think about networking, that's what I think of, is who do I look at and go, yeah, that's someone I want to be like, or they've got all of these people around them that are supporting them. How do I do that for other people, or add value to people's lives, or try and get that for myself as well, And I think networking is a really for me, it's like an odd word because it feels really cringy. It feels like not very personal. So I go to these events a lot and I'm supposed to walk around the room and be like, hey, hi, who are you? What can you give me? You know? But I think for me, I'm really like people-centered, and I really want to know, I want to grow relationships with people. When I think about networking, I think about how do I develop my peer group? And sometimes that looks like my friends, but sometimes it just looks like the people that are around me or supporting me or that I am supporting.
Honestly, it does go a long way. Even like you'll be surprised, like your friends, like how much they can just help you.
Yeah.
And just talking about your dreams, I know it can be a bit scary, but like also closed mouths don't get fed. Like the worst they can say is no, and that's okay. But I'd rather live with that than have regret.
Yeah.
And not have the confidence to say that. Do you feel like your confidence has like grown as well, like, or did you struggle with that when you were younger?
I don't think confidence is something that you have. I think it's something you have after you've done the thing, right? So I get really scared about stepping up on stage and doing public speaking, even though every day I have conversations with people. I run workshops for like rooms of 40, 50 people, but standing up on the stage and talking to 40, 50 people can make me feel really nervous. But after you've done it, you go, oh yeah, that went all right. You know, I think we have this idea that confidence is something that you just pick it up, you put it in your pocket and you've got it. But actually it's something that you grow, isn't it? The more that you repeat something, like I think a really good example is like working out or going to the gym or something. The first time that people go into a space like that, there's all of these people that really know what they're doing, and it can be really overwhelming, and there's like huge guys over there doing like making loads of noises, and it can be a really disorientating experience. But if you just keep turning up, after a while you really know what you are doing just in your own little way.
Yeah.
I can present as really confident, I think, often.
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah. But oftentimes I have like an internal hurdle that I have to cross over.
I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that are interested in like the creative field. Like, so what would you give advice for like young people like trying to get into acting or even doing something behind the scenes? Because there's so many jobs behind the scenes, but like people don't know about it.
Find a community of people. I think places like this, like the Sound Bank, is great because they have all of these services here. There's people willing to like mentor you. You can have learning environments. In that situation, you can then meet other people and link up and work with them. Having a community is often like, it's such a powerful and underrated thing. And I think sometimes in the creative industries, there is this idea of keeping stuff to yourself, like not sharing, because like we can feel afraid, like that I've seen this opportunity for funding or something, and if I share it with my friend and they apply, now we're competing with each other. But actually I think the more that we share and the more we seek to add value to people's lives, the better that everyone is.
Honestly, because I really dislike, like, I literally hate the crabs. We know when they say crabs in the bucket mentality,
crabs in the bucket.
Yeah, I don't know. You've never heard it. I don't know if I'm saying it right, but like, yeah, basically.
I don't like crabs, so they freak me out.
Think that either attack each other or things like that. But like, there's room for everyone. Yeah. Everyone can eat. Like, when people are so competitive instead of collaborating, I feel like that puts you at a disadvantage. And like you said, even with funding, if someone sees the organisers, for example, then they see, oh my gosh, we're getting so much applications. That may even push them to open up the funding, increase it, and there's more opportunities like for everyone.
What you focus on grows, right?
Yeah.
So if I focus on scarcity, if I focus on feelings of like lack, feelings of fear, anxiety, if I put my attention on that, I'm going to get more of that back. But if I focus on love and wealth and sharing and joy and abundance, I'm going to get more of that back.
Yeah. No, honestly, it's been so amazing, like talking to you. I feel very inspired as well. And also, like, how would you, like, anyone listening that wants to get involved with the Babel Theatre, like, how do they reach out? How do they get in touch? Like, what programs are on offer?
Yeah, so you can find us on all social media. Well, most social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Babel_theatre. You can find us on our website at babeltheatre.co.uk. We have loads of programs for young people. For typically that's like 14 to 30. That's quite a big bracket because there are, you know, ways that people slip through the cracks. We've also just been nominated for the Future Connected Awards.
Yes, I saw. I wanted to hear more about that as well.
Yeah, so that's a really cool thing. It's like a year-long cultural leadership program for Lambeth leaders, really. And so it's really nice. It's me and like 12 other really just sick people doing really cool things. And so the 12 of us are learning about how to be better leaders and better for Lambeth for the next year. And then looking at ways to collaborate as well. And that's supported by the council. So that's really cool. Yeah, and just hit us up. We're always open for collaborating. We try and be like really generous with offering our time and attention. So if someone's looking for funding or if someone wants to spend a couple of days in the studio or in the office with us, we're really open to those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's amazing because your theatre's taking you all over the world.
Yeah, quite literally.
What is one of your favorite countries? Like, which one of them that you travel?
Why'd you do me like that? My favorite countries. I like Greece a lot. I think Greece has been really cool. Being there, there's like a real slowness. Like a very like different sort of Mediterranean quality of life. You know, we just start when we start. It's a bit too hot, so let's just stop and have some watermelon. You know, like it's really, let's just chill. But China was amazing. That was really cool. Mostly it's been quite Eurocentric. And so where, you know, we've stopped, obviously, for over the last few years, like international travel, we stopped that for a while. And so we're starting to kind of collaborate in other ways with other parts of the world, and that's quite exciting.
Yeah, that is. No, thank you for sharing your story. And I just one more question I have to ask. Because it seemed from what you said in the beginning that being 15, like 15-year-old you, that was like the catalyst to where you are now. Like, what would you tell the 15-year-old version of you?
Oh, God, that's a good question. What would I tell a 15-year-old version of me? Is, okay, so two or three things. The first would be to dream. Dream. It's a big part of my practice now and in my life. You know, I do a lot of like free writing and a lot of like trying to vision what my future is like and just like get that out there into the world somewhere, even if that's like a voice note that I never listen to, or I draw something, or I write a list of, you know, 3 years from now I'm going to be in 10 countries and, you know, this house and these cars, like whatever it is, and just get it up and out into the universe somehow. And that was definitely not something I thought that would be dumb to do that as a 15-year-old. But I've noticed how much in the last few years I do that, and then these things happen. You know, you go, oh, I'm halfway towards that thing I said I would do 18 months ago. I said 3 years from now I would be in this place, and you go, okay, that's a reality.
I like that. Like, so basically, be delusional.
Yeah.
There's no dreams that aren't crazy enough to reach.
Yeah. So dream, and then the second one is accountability. I've got a band on my wrist that says, "Do what you said you would," and I think that's like have integrity, you know, and really like turn up for yourself. Yeah, those two things: dream and do what you said you would.
Yeah. No, honestly, thank you so much.
Cool, thank you.
Time to speak with us.